Thank you so much for taking time out of your day to chat with us again.
I mean, what an amazing full circle moment. It's so wonderful to see you again.
Yeah, and the success is so well deserved. To start, throughout the mini series, your character is so put together, especially in the way that she presents herself to the world. But when her mother comes into town, we get to see her revert back to almost this childlike state, especially when she realizes she's arriving earlier than expected. And it feels like such a slice of life. That no matter how old we get, we are always seen as children in our parents' eyes. Did that scene feel like a return to home for you, given your incredible background in comedy? And what was it like getting to collaborate with Suha and bring that dynamic to life on screen?
I mean, it really did feel like a slice of life. I love that you use those words. And sometimes I joke, and I do mean it as a joke but it's so real that it's like triggering. I do not mean in a negative way. I mean it in the best way. And I loved working with Sada. I mean, she's so authentic and she brings such a specificity to Brinder, and she does it with such heart and truthfulness. And we've
Mm,
seen in moms like that depicted before. And sometimes it's really also very authentic and sometimes less so. But I think what's so great about what Soda brought to it is just I immediately clicked into this childlike feeling. And I felt like,
yeah.
it was me and my mom kind of nipping at each other and loving each other at the same time.
And there's so many vulnerable conversations that happen in episode 4, from Hillary talking about the societal pressures that are placed on women to have children, to feel seen, and to her connection with makeup and the impact that that had on her upbringing. You brought so much nuance in the way that you approach those scenes, where it's really about the subtleties. As a storyteller, how did you create the space for yourself to tackle that episode in particular? Did you feel the weight of those words?
I very much felt the weight of those words. I felt really a real sense of like responsibility to
Mm,
tell that story in the most truthful way possible, which is always true, but particularly when it's such a tender subject matter. And I think, Gursimran, who wrote episode 4, Gursimran Sant, who is such a brilliant writer, and she put so much on the page. And then getting to just talk with her and sort of see what she was visualizing and feeling for Hillary in those moments really helped
mm.
that out. And then, so the coming to the table with such a full human being as Brinder, the fire kind of built itself. I had to just be willing to get really vulnerable and go on the ride.
It's such a sad episode in this mini series, and you shared this beautiful post on social media about episode 4 in particular and how special it's been for you. And you can feel the care and the love that you, the rest of the cast, and the writers brought to that episode, and highlighting these cultural nuances from language to food. And for so many, it's going to be the first time that they see their culture and themselves celebrated on screen as three-dimensional characters. Have you had time to reflect on your own contributions in blazing this trail for your community? What has this moment meant to you?
Well, now you're going to make me cry. I think it's been probably the most meaningful aspect of playing Hillary is the depiction of this incredibly uh, well sort of rounded human being. She's all things like all of us. She's vulnerable and trying to keep it together and strong and controlling and petty and heartbroken. She's everything. And I think that the it's always been really important to me to see South Asians represented in such a dimensional way. And I think that's important for any person who's not being seen regularly in
Mm.
film, television, and theater. These are the stories that I want to keep moving forward. And the ability to be a part of one and to be a part of that movement forward, that progress is a dream come true. That's what we're here for.
Yeah. Continue blazing that trail. I got one final question for you. This miniseries is such a celebration of women, and there's a really subtle scene in particular where Pori is telling Hillary that she'll always be on her side. Who are the women who've shown up for you in a similar way?
Oh, the list. I mean, where do I even begin? But of course, the first one is the most important. My mom, this is all for my mom. I often think in those moments when, maybe I get frustrated or I feel like the battles feel too big. And then I
Mm,
think back on the experiences she's fought all day, every day, existing. And I really feel that she's somebody who's not only shown up for me, but really has fought a lot of battles for me to have the life I have. And so she's the one that I think of the most.